Okay, so Stacko on the text line said, what's the latest on Addo-Carr, boys? I knew that he fronted the board today. Well, one of our very good friends of the show has just broken the story on Channel 9. We know him as... Yeah. We know him as The Dirt, but he's also a very good friend, like we said. His name's Danny Weidler. He joins us on Sportsday. How are you, Dan?
Hey, Scotty, how are you? Yeah, I don't know how I've got my own intro. This is all Matt Rogers' fault.
It is.
I'm blaming him.
Yeah, he's got his fingerprints all over it. So, as I just said, Dan, you've just broken the story about Josh Addo-Carr in the last 5 to 10 minutes. What's the decision?
Yeah, I don't know if the club's put anything official out as yet, but I've been told that after a board meeting today, Josh Addo-Carr has been sacked by the Bulldogs. So a big story. I guess we were expecting it. Addo-Carr fronted today with his lawyer at about 3:30 at Belmore this afternoon. He and his lawyer addressed the board. I don't think there was any new evidence presented. I don't think that Josh Addo-Carr in any way was able to say how the cocaine got into his system. He's claiming innocence on that. The board listened to everything he had to say. They also listened to what his lawyer had to say, and I know that Cameron Serraldo was asked for his opinion. I don't think he was in the meeting. Phil Gould was in the meeting. He's not a board member, but he's the general manager of the club. He was asked his view on the matter as well. And the outcome is that Josh Addo-Carr is now no longer a Bulldog.
Dan, did you anticipate this was always going to be the outcome, did you think, before he fronted the board, or do you feel as though that he probably was a chance of retaining his contract?
Scott, I thought ever since, when it all happened, I think that Addo-Carr's recollection of events to the Bulldogs, in particular to the general manager of football, Phil Gould, where he didn't give a story that matched up with what actually happened. I think that, more than anything else, has cruelled Josh Addo-Carr. Often they say that the cover-up is worse than the truth. I don't know if it was that the case in this instance, but that's the distinct feeling I got. And I don't think the Bulldogs acted quickly on this because there's a lot of fondness to Josh Addo-Carr, and there was a certain degree of regard for everything that he's done for the club. That's why I don't think they sacked him immediately. Of course, they would have to go through a process. But the reason I think it's come to a head now is because it's been about 6 weeks since the matter, since the incident, and Addo-Carr was given that time to find a club. They wanted a soft exit for Addo-Carr from the club, from everything I could understand. They wanted him to go out without having to sack him, but he wasn't able to get a club in that time. Nothing had changed. He was given a fair hearing before the board this afternoon. He spoke with his lawyer for about 50 minutes, and there was not enough in that presentation for the board to want to keep Josh Addo-Carr at the club. Now, I know you're Queensland-based, and where it may be interesting for particularly your Queensland listeners, Scotty, is that Ezra Mam's situation, in my view, a far more serious matter. Now, the Broncos are going to have their case compared to what the Bulldogs did to Josh Addo-Carr, sacking a player who has been an Origin and international player over a matter where nobody was injured. Now, this is going to probably cause debate, but I can tell you that the microscope will definitely be, or the spotlight rather, will definitely be on the Brisbane Broncos and to see how they react to everything that's taken place. And, you know, it's a big call by the Bulldogs, but they're travelling in a direction where culture is very important at that club. And obviously, what Josh Addo-Carr did in terms of either the actions on the night or the way he handled the aftermath doesn't suit what the Bulldogs want.
Danny, we know we've got to let you go, mate, because you're a busy man, but we've been talking ad nauseum at the start of the show about the system of precedence with players getting into these situations. Do you think football across the board has got it right in regards to how they manage these cases? And, well, let's just say this Josh Addo-Carr. Do you think this is a fair outcome given what he did?
Look, I do, yeah. I think, as I said, I think the cover-up was bad, or his interpretation of events was wrong. And I don't think, I don't think you can say what he did to the general manager of football at the club and get away with it. And, in terms of the other stuff, the off-field behaviour, my view, and it's not one that's backed in the game, is that I think the NRL has got a little bit soft on so-called party drugs, or whatever you want to call them. I think that it's almost too accepted, and the punishments aren't hard enough. And the Bulldogs have shown the way in this case that they're not going to. They don't want to tolerate this. If a person in their club, Josh Addo-Carr, has admitted to breaking the law in this instance, and if he's done that, they're going to look really harshly at it, and they have done that. I'm sure they'll take every case on its circumstance, and perhaps if Josh Addo-Carr had, for want of a better word, come clean and been more upfront with his initial reporting of the matter to the Bulldogs, things could have been different.
Before we let you go, Dan, so which fans are going to profit out of this? The Dragons have been mentioned. Parramatta's been mentioned.
Yeah, Scott, he's been on the market for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know whether he's priced himself out of the market, and maybe he and his manager are going to have to rethink that. But yeah, the Dragons have been strongly mentioned. The Dragons got plenty of money to spend, but their next signing is going to be Clint Gutherson, isn't it? So, I think that Josh Addo-Carr, if he's focused and just puts some elements out of his life that he's going to have to do, and if he can do that, he's still a very good player.
Yep.
And fans adore Josh Addo-Carr. And there'll be a lot of young Bulldogs fans tonight with his number on their jumper or his name on their jumper who'd be disappointed.
Yep.
And a lot of Bulldogs fans, because he's very popular with the Bulldogs fans. But don't forget, this all happened in the lead up to what was the Bulldogs' biggest game, I think, in 8 years. And that's hard to forget as well.
Hey, Dan, thank you very much. Very thoughtful to think of us when this news is broken. And
no worries.
Thank you very much for coming on the show.
I just want to hear that theme you've got.
Yeah, exactly. Can you play it again, please? Yeah. So we've got plenty of text, plenty of reactions already. Josh Addo-Carr, what happened to it, Sats? Did he smash it or crash it? Well, he has crashed badly. That's a fantastic Josh. 767 has said, avid listener. He can go to Parramatta now. How good. Yeah. So, there's a lot of reaction here. We're going to get to a fair bit of that as well. Daddy Vass, you've also written in here, which is some really pertinent questions to ask. So the first one you've written here while Danny was talking just then, if the Broncos don't sack or deregister Ezra Mann's contract, is it a bad look? Every club is in a completely different position.
Well, it's amazing.
For whatever reason.
You think about Josh Addo-Carr, right? So he's sacked from a club, but he could go and sign $600,000 elsewhere. Is it really that, big a move for him?
No, he's going to be paid handsomely wherever he goes.
That's right. So,
or some clubs will use it as a negotiation tool to say, well, you know what, you've been knocked down a couple of cogs. You need to restart your career and get your.
So that's the punishment. Will he get another punishment from
the NRL?
Yeah.
The NRL usually sit back and wait to see how the club handles it. If they think the club has handled it well, they'll say, well done.
Yeah, but sacked at 600, and then you go over and pick 600 and start pick your bags up and just move it elsewhere. Is that really a punishment?
Well,
only the fan and the club gets.
Then legalities come into it. Restrain a trade. We've got a great talent, and they don't want me over here. Why should I not be? I mean, we could talk ad nauseum about it. Does there need to be more education around illicit drugs for professional athletes, Daddy Vass? There is so much education and awareness around this. The worst part about the NRL, and I'm not talking about other sports, but just the NRL, is that as part of the collective bargaining agreement, they're not allowed to be tested. Now, this is during the season, but I'm talking about the off-season. They can't be tested for a period over the off-season for said drugs.
Yeah.
So I think that is absolutely ludicrous.
Well, in
Crime scene. I don't need you to weigh in at the moment because I know what you're going to say.
in cricket, you have hair testing,
Yep.
which is done.
Follicle testing, yeah.
Follicle, which can go back over 90 days, and that's in-house.
Remember Ben Cousins famously shaved his head?
His eyebrows and did all that. Yeah, that's the dead giveaway. If you see someone rocking a monobrow one year and then it's completely gone the next. But that's part of it. And, I mean, there is being mentioned in parliamentary level in regards to the drugs policy in the AFL, saying that there's too much, and it'd be in the camp of Danny Weidler saying that we're protecting these players too much with this illegal substance rule. Now, where you sit on it, I sit on the protection side of the player. Danny Weidler's got a pretty firm opinion in the other way, and it is very polarising in which way people do look at it. I look at still as young kids, but, as he said, he tugged at the heartstrings there, didn't he, Danny? He said, there's young kids with that shirt, that Addo-Carr shirt, and wants to see him flying down the wing there with the Bulldogs jersey on and winning him games and playing in finals. That's not going to happen anymore, and that needs to play a part as well.
We always thought it was possibly going to end this way, didn't we, Socky? Because Phil Gould was really, really critical of Braden Trindle.
Well, that was the point I wanted to ask him as well, if it was fair, because Gus Gould did come out and say we would have handled that situation very differently.
Probably knew the writing was on the wall.
Well, a month later, Addo-Carr, that happens, and his first comments were, look, Josh is very firm about his statement about what he did, and now we're finding out that he's gone back on that. And I think, again, Danny has summed it up. He said if he's come out clean and maybe exposed himself rather than trying to cover it up, by which it sounds like it has been and not been accepted by the board, his excuse, then they've got no real choice.
Think about Gus. Gus is a rugby league man through and through. He has been involved in every situation as a player, an official, coach, whatever it may be. If Josh Addo-Carr would have been up front and just put his hands up and said to Gus, this is what was going on. Hey, I need you to help me.
That's another trait. Another Braden Trindle one. You go away for 6 weeks, you get some treatment, you get some therapy, you come back and you're hopefully a better man for yourself and for the club. Well,
because you put yourself, your family, you've put the club in jeopardy. Yeah. So I hope Parra get Addo-Carr, Steve says, and also Addo-Carr is gone. Western Sydney Eagle says Josh without a car is now Josh without a club. Lundy and his humour. He loves it.
I just think it's too early to start laughing about a bloke's career.
So plenty of, as we're saying, plenty of reaction. Daddy Vass, is there any other questions you've got around the situation? Because you were typing feverishly.
There's a few there. I think young players, and it's happened in the past with Ben Barber, but I think young players who earn a big contract because they've come onto the scene. At a young age, and they're kind of a game breaker. They get these massive contracts. They've maybe come from a different background, which they don't know how to handle that inflow of cash. I think there needs to be a program set up for those young athletes who come on the scene and say, look, yes, you're going to get this money, but we're not actually going to give it to you until you reach 25 years old.
So just giving them a certain amount.
Like apprentice jockeys.
Yeah.
Just don't pay
like
him.
a Tani who plays for the Dodgers, who's only getting $2 million a year, but he's going to get the rest at the end of his career. Well,
the sentiment works. The sentiment works, and it's a thoughtful process, but it's just never, ever going to happen. And you watch it with movie stars with fame. You watch it with anyone with fame. These child stars go off the rails in a certain sense because you've got the fame, you've got the money, you've got all of that, and you're looking for that next. This is not a recipe that we haven't seen or recognised before. My question is the game doing enough? Now, Scotty's saying the game is doing enough with education, but
more than enough.
Yeah, okay. Well, then that answers that question because I feel like that is the only way.
It's arrogance. That's all it is.
Well, you can't take a 19-year-old, I believe, Daddy Vass, and I agree with the sentiment, but you can't tell that kid, well, we're going to keep your money. Well, what are they doing with it? Maybe he might need it if he's 25 and he's got 7 family members that he needs to feed and look after, but you're not going to get it to 25.
That's fine. Like your super. Like during COVID, you could apply and grab your super if you needed it.
There are some players whose agents do a great job.
Take a percentage and invest.
No, communicating with the club and the players, saying that we're going to have an account over here, but you're going to get a wage each week. Really early on in their career, when they come into the biggest money they've ever seen, they get a wage each week, and by the time they do get to 25, 26, all of a sudden they have got this account that their agent has been.
We broke it down, $16,500. He'll receive at the age of 21 a week. Like, that's just
Ezra.
insane. Yes.
Yeah. And then you got tax taken out of that, but it's still a lot of money.
Coles is expensive, Daddy Bass.
Yeah.
I was getting a haircut.
Petrol's $2 a litre. Oh,
$65
he pays
my
$65
haircut.
for a haircut.
You did.
Yeah. And he
Did
wears
you
a
get
hat.
Did
he
you
wears
get
a hat the
Did
whole
you get a
time.
receipt?